We're on a road trip going to a city called Totogalpa, which is in the northern part of the country near the border with Honduras.
Howdy doodle 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 do. Howdy doodle 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 do.
We are traveling on the Pan American Highway, which is the longest road that you can drive on in the world. It starts all the way down in Argentina and ends up in Alaska. We're going to be visiting Finca La Uva, which is a large sheep farm, about 270 acres or so. They are going to provide us with some forage material for our sheep. During the dry season earlier in the year, we had a really difficult time trying to source fodder and hay for our sheep. We're entering into Esteli, the largest city along the route here. And so we wanted to make sure that we didn't have that difficulty again when the dry season comes up in another couple of months. And so Finca La Uva is selling us cuttings from 4 different plants that provide very good fodder for their sheep during the dry season to help us out. I put links to the videos chronicling our struggles down in the description box in case if you're interested in watching them. We have arrived and we're near one of the corrals that they have for their sheep and goats. It's a nice setup that they have here. I like it a lot. We're meeting with Esteban, who is the manager of this farm. And I'm going to be switching places with Lena, and I'll be doing the camera work, and she is going to be doing the talking with Esteban. But neither of us has the time nor the inclination to translate everything that Esteban's going to be saying word for word. Instead, I'm going to give a general translation as we go along. Oh, and here's King Kong, the capuchin monkey resident of the farm. He's a real cutie and a rascal. He's a real rascal. He likes to jump up in women's hair and mess it all up. And he's chasing me around right now. I'm trying to prevent him from climbing up my leg and getting into my hair. Here Esteban is giving us advice about how to plant the morera plant. He suggests that we have rows about 30 centimeters apart and that the plants are planted at 4 centimeter intervals. Now Esteban is explaining the differences between the sizes of the cutting. The morera is small, the botón de oro is large. Lena is now asking for information about how to plant the morera cuttings. Esteban is indicating that you put them about 2 inches, plant the cuttings about 2 inches in the ground, and then you need to pack the soil pretty tight around the cutting. Don't leave a lot of room for air in the soil around there. Now he's saying that he can take us to a more extensive area where both the botón de oro and the morera are planted. Here Esteban is explaining how he plants the botón de oro. He has them in rows that are 1 meter apart from each other, and then they're planted sequentially at 1 meter apart within the row. Botón de oro, or gold button in English, is actually a species of Tithonia, which I did a video about, and you can see it, you can link to it down in the description. But it's a different variety than the one that we already have on the farm, so I wanted to have it. Here I'm asking him about a plant that I see there, and he tells us that that is morango. He takes the leaves of morango, crushes them, and then mixes them in with molasses and feeds them to the sheep in the summer, and apparently the sheep particularly like it. You may remember we did that last dry season here with the molasses, but not with that type of plant. Now Esteban has taken us to a more mature stand of Botón de Oro, and he's explaining that the plant produces a single stalk that grows about 3 meters high when it's mature, produces a big flower, much like a sunflower, and that you can cut that stalk in 2, maybe 3 places, maybe even as many as 4, to propagate the plant. In other words, you just cut it and then stick it in the ground, and it will grow a new plant. Lena is asking him if the plant grows in the dry season, and he's saying that it will, but you have to provide it with water. So some type of irrigation or spray or what have you. He also is saying that we need to cut the plant for forage before it flowers, because once it flowers, it lignifies, the stem lignifies, and it becomes very stiff, more like a piece of wood, and the sheep don't like that. And also, if you cut it before the flowering, you get more vegetative growth. Now Esteban has taken us to an area where there's morera, but in a more mature form. And he's explaining how for forage, you cut about the top 1/3 for forage, and then let the rest to grow more vegetatively. Now we've moved to an area where Esteban plants the Cuban grass, and he's mentioning that he plants it in rows that are 50 centimeters apart, and then the plants themselves are 40 centimeters distance in the row. He explains that it's a hardy plant that can take the heat in the dry season, and he even pulls out an example to show us. He mentions that it really kind of spreads out as it grows, so he tells us not to get frustrated by how small it is at the beginning. Here Esteban is explaining to us how to plant the Cameroon grass, and that's planted horizontally, and so the first thing you have to dig a shallow trench, which is what he's doing right now. Then you cut the stalks into pieces that have 3 nodes in each piece, and then finally you're going to take those stalks that have 3 nodes each, and you're going to put 2 of them side by side down in the trench, and then lightly cover them with the dirt that you've and you're only just going to lightly cover it. You don't want to bury them real deep. And after about 15 days, you'll get a germination. So that's it. We're headed back home now. Please remember to click the like button if you find this information to be useful. And the way to really support this channel is by subscribing to it. So please consider doing that as well. And I'll see you in the next video.